Hello and welcome, everybody. 100th episode extravaganza of the Bonfire. I'm John, normally a hot takes member, but happy to be with the rest of the boys today. We got a pretty full house. I'll kind of let everybody say hello here, but I've got DJ. You want to say hi?
John, you can't say full house. That's copyrighted.
Okay. Well, Alan, how you doing, bud?
I'm the pole with the goal, and I'm still breathing. I also got a saxophone with me.
He's got a saxophone with him. I was waiting for that.
I didn't even hear it, so I hope it shows up for everybody else. Tim, beautiful as always. Happy to have you. How are you doing, bud?
All I had to do was compliment your mustache in the pre-roll, and now you're just going to be nice to me all day. That's nice.
Yeah, that's exactly how that works, actually. Our fearless leader, Matthew. Matthew, how are you doing? Indiana 6-0, feeling pretty good, I'd imagine.
3-2, bear down, 6-0, go Hoosiers. It's been a pretty good weekend over here in Chicago.
Pretty weird they don't have a better catchphrase. Joined by the one man who may know the intimate places of Soldier Field better than the rest of us, Eray. How are you doing, buddy?
You know, I'm a Chicago Fire fan, so I'm hanging in there.
There we go. And last but not least, maybe the strongest among us. Certainly one of the best voices we have in terms of coverage. Alex, pleasure as always, my good sir. How's your day?
Oh, I'm doing splendidly. I mean, like we said, the Bears have won, and Fire 2
Tear down Chicago
as
Bears.
we know, and we will talk about. But it's been a good day. It's been a good day so far.
That is the truth, to say the least. A winning day for Chicago. I guess not something we see very often, if ever. At least it certainly didn't feel that way this summer with what we went 0-4 on teams making the playoffs. Well, I guess 1 for 5 now, right? As Chicago Fire 2 qualify for the MLS Next Playoffs.
Yeah, it certainly helps that baseball season's over, right? Or the baseball regular season's over. That helps.
If you live in Chicago, baseball season's over.
Yeah. Baseball season's over here.
It's been over for a while, to be fair, for us Sox fans.
It's almost time for mediocre basketball season and possibly better than mediocre hockey season. As long as I got to watch Connor Bedard.
You fellas ready to win 38 games and play in the play-in? Because that's, I think, where we're headed after this. But as we kind of get things rolling here.
John said the Fire are going to win 38 games next year. That is all 34 regular season games and make it to, what would that be, like the U.S. Open Cup quarterfinal?
Not quite. But you know what? I'll cross my fingers and hope that's true. Undefeated in the regular season, maybe some playoff wins too. Certainly a lot of change coming, hopefully. I don't know. That's what I thought last year too, and that didn't go super well. Fellas, I think we're going to start with, I guess, what's probably top of mind for all of us at this point in terms of soccer, at least, given the state of the first team. Chicago Fire 2 qualified for the MLS Next Playoffs today. Beautiful goal in there towards the... Oh my gosh, and I'm forgetting names because I'm a terrible person and I didn't think to write it down in front of me.
Peter Sudan, opening goal in the 15th minute.
Yeah, really wonderful header. But I'll kind of open the floor. Alex, I'll toss to you if you have any things you want to start out with and general thoughts, guys, on the outlook for what this playoff run could be.
Yeah, I mean, look, Fire 2 have been a very fun team to watch this season. Ludovic Taillandier has been excellent as head coach. Today, they came in a position where they knew a win would guarantee a playoff spot. They had a difficult opponent, Kevin Sullivan and the Philadelphia Union, and they got over the line. Difficult 2-1 win against a team that heading into today was first place in the Eastern Conference. So huge win for Fire 2. Back-to-back seasons they're in the playoffs. And they're going to go in as the number 4 seed in the East, but I think they've got the potential to make some real noise considering they just beat the number one team coming into today. And they have previously beat the team that ended up finishing number 1, Cincinnati.
Ludovic Taillandier, when we spoke to him after the game, said that he will take any team at home, and because they have the best home record in the conference, which is true. It's the first home playoff game in Fire 2 history coming up.
And that's going to be somewhere around October 20th. Details TBD, but keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, so if you're choosing between fan appreciation night and an actual playoff game, maybe choose the actual playoff game. Matt, you got your hand raised. What do you think?
No, I've been waiting for this moment. I don't remember if this was on First off, I want to start by saying that anytime there's a Chicago team in the playoffs, my heart is happy, specifically when it's one affiliated with Fire 2. So great job to that whole org, and I'm looking forward to being there in Bridgeview for the home game because I don't want to watch the first team play. Eray knows this very well. He misses me quite a lot. But what I was really going to say was, I don't remember if this was on Hot Takes or a Bonfire episode I was randomly on. I said Pareba, the guy to watch for Chicago Fire 2. You want to know where he is now? Golden Boot leader, 18 goals, 21-year-old. He should be on the first team next year.
Now,
not yet. He did not. There's the St. Louis City 2 has a player that is 3 goals shy, and they have yet to play their game.
He's on the
3 goals. We're fine. Lock it in.
He's on the bench, and he's on the bench, and the game's over. So.
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize the game had just finished. All right.
When's the Golden Boot? I just wanted to say I told you so. A little self-glory. I'm sorry, guys.
That's really special, Matt. Thank you for sharing that with us. We're all super proud of you.
Thank you.
I think
I'd like to point out when I spoke to Pareba a couple hours ago at this point, and he was a lot more modest about his accomplishments than Matt has been about David Pareba's accomplishments, and I just want that on the record.
Someone's got to be happy for him, okay?
If we're talking about Matt's accomplishments, maybe we should also dig in a little bit to what happened to Andrew Gutman this year. Should we talk about that too, if we're talking about things Matt was super excited about? But anywho, don't know that we want to spend...
The same guy who worships Johnny Dean is crazy, but that's okay.
I'm sorry. How many goals does Andrew Gutman have? 1. How many goals does Jonathan Dean have? 1. That's what I thought, Matt.
Whatever floats your boat.
It took us, 5 minutes to get into a Hot Takes episode?
Look, you can't put Matt and I in the same boat together. It won't.
Johnny Dean's better, hands down. He's a dog. He doesn't get injured every other week.
He's better.
So,
He also played. I don't know what to tell you. Anywho, moving on, because we're not talking about Andrew Gutman and Jonathan Dean, at least not yet.
And there's me with Wyatt Armsberg.
I love Wyatt.
No,
Wyatt is good people.
Yeah. Speaking of,
come on the pod. This is your formal invite.
Like literally, no. I think I've sort of kind of invited him once. I've talked with him. And speaking of Fire 2, like the Open Cup games, that was really, really fun. Like mentioning, it was a lot of fun watching the Fire 2 play, and especially when Wyatt was a part of that team in the Open Cup, and it was just a fun atmosphere as well, having our little mini supporter section. And I think that was also where I formally introduced the saxophone to the Fire supporter section. And I will never forget people sending me clips of the broadcast where you can hear in the background everyone singing Careless Whisper. So that was a really great time.
There was actually, a Fire staffer was wondering if you were going to be there playing today. And I said, you were probably going to be singing for Jesus instead.
Yeah, unfortunately. But I will do I genuinely...
Look, Alan, it's okay. We all get our priorities mixed up sometimes.
No, but if the playoff game is like Sunday morning, I will like call off. I'll be like, hey, Jesus, I the Fire needs me.
Dude, you've had 2,000 years. Like, just give me one day, man.
Yeah, so...
Jewish.
That's the one day.
Okay.
Yep. So kind of keeping things moving here.
Yes,
I know another thing we kind of floated along was this idea of obviously I try to bait my breath a little bit because we all thought some big changes were coming after last year. That obviously did not partake. But since Garrick Heitz has already been announced as leaving at the end of this season, we're obviously kind of expecting some turnover. So I want to kick it around a little bit, and we'll keep this a little more brief so we can start talking to folks in the crowd here. But would love to hear from everybody. If we've got one player to kick, one player to keep, so one player to keep, one to sell. Who would it be, and why? We'll start. We'll go reverse order this time. So, Alex, I'll toss it to you to start, and then we'll kind of work our way back around.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think there are some players who are probably going to be leaving. I think you're going to see a lot of overhaul in this offseason. If I had to guess, it might be as many as 10 to 12 players leaving. But if I had to name one of those players who probably is leaving, who I would like to see stay, with the condition, is Rafael Chihos, because I think he brings good leadership. He loves Chicago, really wants to be here, and he might even take a pay cut, which is what you'd probably need to keep him here given his age and his current salary. Someone to get rid of, I think for me, there are a few.
You'll get a turn,
Eray.
You'll get your turn. I was going to say Federico Navarro because for me, they've been looking in the past, keeping options open for him, but he hit the ground running when he came as an under 22 signing, but he's not a starter. He's not going to be good enough once that U22 expires, and he's still under contract until 2027, which is a really long contract for a player who's not even really pushing the starting lineup a lot of the time. He's pretty much regressed since his first season in 2021. So for me, Novato, I think he would benefit from a fresh start. The Fire would benefit from having that slot back and going out and maybe getting someone who can compete to be a starter in midfield.
Yeah. Matt, where are you at?
Keep Andrew Gutman, sell Jonathan Dean. No, seriously, I'm going to do something a little bit different, and I'm going to say keep Toby Salquist. Everyone knows I'm a Toby truther, and I see some nods in a little, okay, interesting. Yeah, I'm not saying Hugo. I'm not saying Kellen. I'm not saying Allen. I'm not saying that. I'm saying Toby. This is a guy I didn't get the opportunity to see play much, but from the limited time, I saw promising signs. We know it takes time for certain players to get involved in the league. It wasn't like that for Rafa. Rafa kind of hit the ground running, but every player's different. So with Rafa regressing and Carlos on the outs, I think it's important to have someone on the team not named Wyatt Amsberger Pineda, whose ceilings are limited, that can actually produce something in the back. So I'm going Toby Salquist over there. For selling, I'm going Gaston. I don't know how he's managed to keep finagling these contracts. I don't get it. I'm just kind of over the Gaston Jimenez phase and would like someone else kind of running our midfield because, he's been decent towards the back end of the season, but it's just time to move on. So Salquist and Gaston, final answer.
Yeah, pretty reasonable, pretty mild. I'm glad you didn't actually pick Jonathan Dean.
Thank you, John. It means a lot coming from you. Appreciate it.
Get rid of anyone. Or sorry, no.
I knew that was get rid of everyone. Burn it down. Start new.
Well, okay. I'm going to start with who to get rid of.
Option.
Delete club option. Are we just talking about people who contracts are expiring, or anyone?
No,
just
I would say
get rid of.
Just if you're maybe not somebody we know is going to be gone for sure, right? Like their contracts are not being renewed, but just anyone who you want to get rid of.
We'll get rid of Suke. It's not even a question. The dude is trash, and I don't know how he keeps starting when we've got the likes of Aragoni, who, in my opinion, Aragoni is better than Suke. That's I don't know if that's even a hot take, but I think he is. But yeah, I don't. In terms of who to keep, I mean, I'd say Hugo because I think that but I know he's staying next year because he's on a 2-year, right?
3 year.
At least 3-year. Okay. Well, I hope that he's not. I mean, he had a kid here, which is good for him. Must have been conceived the night he was signed, which I think was still really funny. But just, I just want to make sure he doesn't want to go somewhere else, and we're not he's not trying to end his contract. I think they need to try to get him to stay, and for him to, thrive here, I think he needs a team that is actually good around him. So, yeah.
Yeah, valid. Tim, who are you two?
I say that we should kick Alan Aragoni. I agree with Eray's. No, I agree with Eray's statement. Well, 2K probably needs to go too, but both of them are too expensive for the level of performance that they give you, and it's a capped league, which means you need flexibility. I'm just going to assume that some guys are not getting contracts renewed with that because he's not the number one offender. Not in terms of being a bad person, just in terms of a deal that's not worth what they give you in MLS, where the cap really does matter a lot. And in terms of a keep, I'm going to say Wyatt Amsberg. I think that he has been a very good value player for the Fire. And again, in a cap league, that really does matter a lot. I'm not saying he's going to be a starter on a future Fire team that's making it to MLS Cup, but he is valuable depth. He's a strong leader in the locker room. And he's becoming more of a veteran presence. And I honestly, I rate his ceiling as being higher than I think a lot of people do. And I'm not alone in that assessment, talking to other reporters around the league that I think have called these things pretty well historically. He's I think, a quality center back in MLS.
Yeah. Alan, I saw you fist pumping, so you might say something similar. But what are you? Where are you?
Yeah, because I know we're trying to like avoid saying the same players
because Wyatt Omsberg's his bestie. I'm sorry for stealing it from you. Sorry.
No, it's perfectly fine for stealing my best friend in the Fire, the one guy on the Fire that actually knows me by name. Like I'll say the story that after the last game, he was on the sideline signing for some kids and taking pictures. And when I came over, he was like, "Oh, hey, Alan," and I'm like, "Good to see you, Wamsberg, Wyatt." That's how flustered I was. But yeah, no, we practically know each other at this point. And basically everything that Tim said, like he might not be a starter in like future Fire games, especially next year, or if he even stays longer than that. But the reason I love Wyatt is the reason I loved Bobby Shuttleworth when he came in. You know, he stepped into a role of an injured player or this sort of void, and he excelled in that situation. And I think he continues to do as best as he can in that situation. In terms of player to kick, though, Carlos Terán, because of the fact that I feel like we're barely getting anything from him. I feel like it's a constant cycle of he's here, you know, he has like a few flashes of, wow, you know, he's pretty good. And then all of a sudden he's gone injured. And we know that Carlos wants a European move. So let's give him a European move, even if it's to like, I don't know, somewhere in the former Yugoslavic countries. But like,
but
let's give him that.
To the 1990s.
Yeah, like if he wants to move to Europe, like go ahead. It might not be where he was thinking, but at this point, honestly.
Yeah. DJ, why don't you tap in here, man? Who are you thinking?
On the keep, I'm saying keep Chris Brady for obvious reasons and kick Guti. Just because I think Guti needs to.
Alex,
I think it'd be a good idea.
I love it.
I think it's a good idea to move on from Guti. Not because he's bad, but I think it'd be better for him to move on. Because, I mean, there's a point where you're just at your ceiling with your team, and it's just time.
The Georgi Mihailovic trajectory.
Exactly. That's exactly why I was thinking. It's like Georgie blew up after he left the Fire, and I don't want Georgie to blow up here in the MLS anymore, but I would like for Guti to actually get his chance.
All we need is Brian Gutiérrez to tell a fan to go fuck himself, and he's on that trajectory.
Oh, God, here we go.
Exactly.
Oh, my God.
And now we've got to censor this. Thanks, Eray.
No, I had permission way before this.
To be fair.
I was about to say, to be fair, we did say there would be swearing allowed, but
this is a hot takes crossover, technically, because I'm here, so like that means that you're allowed to swear.
You can drop an F-bomb, you just can't drop the I-bomb.
I wish Paul was here so we could just bleep out like a whole line of what he says.
And then if we released the video, it would just be like native Scottish.
Yes,
Lord.
Speaking of
great, well, if you guys will indulge me, I'll give mine really quick. I would really love to see Georgios Koutsias get one more year with this team, with hopefully an actual coach. He showed a lot of flashes this year, and I think the talent is there, whether it as like a backup to Hugo or somebody who can potentially match Marin's pace on the wing. I think that's a really exciting opportunity. And
so wait,
DJ,
John Over is done with Jonathan Dean confirmed.
Whoa.
Yes.
Whoa. Jonathan Dean is a reasonable choice. He's going to make under $100,000. He's a serviceable backup fullback. There's no reason not to re-sign him or trigger his option for next year. So I felt that went without saying. Any reasonable sporting director would do so. But my kick, DJ, you took it, and I would show you my paper if I thought you guys would be able to read it. But I wrote down Guti as well for a completely different reason. If anybody is willing to give you money for him right now, you should absolutely take it. He has not been good enough. That's just a fact, right? That position is too important to have somebody who is that inconsistent be your everyday guy in and out. I don't see a world in which it makes sense to keep him and just like, oh, fingers crossed he grows. And maybe you're right, like he will move on and he'll be challenged more and be in a better situation. And I truly hope that. But the more cynical side of me is hey, let's just move on because it's not working for anybody at this point. You guys can just talk.
I just want to say,
I'm going to make the opposite argument, to be honest.
Okay.
Because I think he had a bad year. I think he had a better 2023 than he did 2024.
Absolutely.
He clearly has a higher level within him. It's not like he needs to even develop that much more to just play better than he did this season. He had a bad season. The coaching wasn't great. It was inconsistent with what his role was going to be. There was always the looming question of whether Shaqiri was going to be there or not, and what position he was going to play, and what the system was. And they ended up playing a system that didn't suit him whatsoever. All of that wasn't very suitable to a good environment for him. If he goes out in 2025, has a great season, you're not getting $2 million for him, which is probably what you're getting right now. You can get $8 million from Chivas or Tigre.
Let me just Matt, I know you want to talk it, but like, let me push back against that for 1 second, though. I don't think that they played a system that didn't suit him at all. I think that they didn't trust him to really play a number 10 role, and so they came up with a system that didn't rely on having one. Between Shaqiri and Guti not really being able to do that, so they came up with like a backup plan that didn't really suit the overall roster build that well, but instead just worked around this problem of like, we don't have a guy that can do that.
To tally onto that, Tim, like there is an aspect to that of like, that was the case for everybody this year, right? Like, I thought Marin played well in a second striker role that he is not suited for. We saw flashes of he's still an awesome player. He is far less equipped to deal with this than in his normal role. And the other side of the coin too is like, handedly, MLS is not a league, I think, where we need to worry about outgoing transfer fees. Like, it's nice, but Joe Mansueto has billions of dollars, and we can only spend so much. This isn't the championship. This isn't the Eredivisie where we have to sell players to have money to buy players. Like, obviously, there's not no regard there, right? I'm not trying to say that.
But what it does, though, is it helps the team's salary cap with GAM.
Yeah. Yes. I'm just, I think the point I'm making
that's
is
a
more,
fair point. Yeah.
If you're telling me I get $2 million for him now, and I get a player who is better than him next year regardless, who can help the team win games, I think that mitigates the loss factor of that potential we could find.
Still,
but
I don't think that
Alex,
Guti right now is not readily movable, except maybe to a couple teams, like maybe like a Chivas, maybe a couple of other teams in Liga MX, where they are willing to take a gamble on a player, especially someone with a connection to Mexico, just because his wages are enough that outside of like PSV or something like that in like the Dutch league, he would be the highest paid player on most teams in the Netherlands. And not a lot of teams around the world are going to offer him more money than he's making with the Fire. And so why would he take a deal somewhere else to make less money? Like, there's no reason for it. So
you didn't fact check. You didn't tell me you'd be fact checking this. All right, Tim.
Oh boy. No, you've got a mustache, not like that full, very well, like manicured beard that looks like it was like applied with tape or something like that before.
Don't forget the eyeliner.
Makeup. Yeah. Well, yeah, the eyeliner. His eyeliner game is impressive. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I had friends that were goths in high school, and like they could never get eyeliner done that well. So I'm impressed by it, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know what I'm surprised about? That nobody said Barlow or Mueller.
I think that's a given for Mueller, right? Like, I don't think there's anybody on here who would say we should keep him.
I think Barlow stays another year as a striker.
Mueller and Barlow are both out of contract after next year, and it's kind of like, Mueller, do you take that chance on him? It's like, if you do, and it works, it's whatever. But Barlow also is not costing you like anything. So
I will say, if with the injury that he had, if you talked to like sports and medicine docs and stuff like that, which I did check with one, they'll tell you that like the recovery time is really closer to like 18 months to 2 years, depending. I think part of it is like he clearly didn't have the speed that he's relied on. Some players also adapt their game where they're like, I don't have that explosive speed that I used to, and they find a way to make their skill set work without it. There's no guarantee that's going to happen with Mueller. It obviously was a disappointing season, and just like Barlow, I think that he's making too much money, and I think the amount of GAM this team spent to get him here makes his cap hit ridiculous for the level of production that he's had. But when he scored his first goal of the season, his first goal for the Fire, Chris Brady actually stopped reporters after we were done talking to Brady and stopped us and called him out and said how much of a professional he was, how hard he worked in training, and how he was always first choice for him. So to the extent that that's a recommendation about the kind of guy that he is in the locker room and the kind of production that he can give, I think that is maybe a factor. But again, in terms of moving him, he's just, if someone's not earning their keep here, it's like selling someone a broken car for more money than the car would be worth if it ran. If you can find that person, great. But
I just want to say, before we move on from this conversation, that I'm once again going to answer this dilemma through an emotional perspective and not a perspective that actually makes sense in terms of roster building or roster construction. There's something really soothing about having a bunch of Big Ten baddies just come into the MLS and playing alongside guys like Hugo Kuipers and Toby Selquist. Big Ten baddies. You got the Wisconsin boys, you got Goodman. I don't think we have any other Big Ten baddies on the team. But you can quote it, man. Give me all the Big Ten baddies. Let us sign some of these talented IU Hoosiers that grew up in the Fire Academy, and let's just put them next side, all these talented guys they bring over for 12
If they were smart, they'd stay away from this club.
No. I love it. I think it's awesome. So I'm saying
this says everything that you know, that he's a guy wearing Fire gear right now as we're recording, and also cautioning against them. You have the most dysfunctional relationship with the Fire. You guys need to get into couples therapy and really work this out one way or another.
All right.
I've been in a toxic relationship for too long.
The only player that the Chicago Fire should be signing out of college soccer right now is Dylan Borso out of the ACC. That's all I'm going to say.
W. Yeah,
Dylan Borso, he's never, the Fire would never have a guy like that in their system, though.
Brief interruption. Folks in the audience, if you have questions, please start raising your hands. But Alex brings up an interesting point here, which is that we were awful. The second team is apparently pretty good. And we saw, 2 guys make appearances, 3 guys get call-ups. Interesting that there was no crossover there, or not more crossover than there was. I don't know if anybody wants to weigh in on that. I feel like it's been kind of a bubbling topic recently.
I am not surprised.
Talked about this a lot.
Hands up. Request to speak.
Yeah. Here's
you guys, the audience.
The gap between the first team and the second team level is so dramatically big, and the aspects that make a player successful in the second team don't necessarily translate to the first team. Omari Glasgow, for instance, is probably too small to be a regular contributor at the MLS level. He's been very, very good at the second team level. Everybody loves Omari, of course, but it's difficult for me to see him ever really making it as a truly regular contributor at the MLS level, because he's just not big enough physically to compete. I think we saw that in his limited minutes. He was good off the bench. He provided a spark. I thought in those games he played quite well. He made a good account for himself. But I think if we're talking about being a contributor over the course of the season, I just don't really see someone like that translate. That's not to say that players can't go from the second team to the first team. We've seen Jason Russell-Rowe in Columbus most famously do that, but it's tricky.
It's also,
I was going to say the same thing. Yeah. With just the gap between the leagues, that's really the big thing, is that, just because they're performing at the MLS Next Pro level, which is practically the USL League One equivalent, and almost a direct competitor of that, the gap is too big. It's good for player development, which you can look at Chris Brady going to Forward Madison on loan from the Fire, and he killed it in USL League One, and he earned his way back into the first team, and there's that, but there's not too many other good examples of that. You have Pepe, who, played for North Texas when they were part of USL League One, and then ended up playing for Dallas. There are some examples, but it's still few and far between, I would say.
It is a big gap.
That's why I'd say that with the Chicago Fire specifically, when you look at, yes, Omari had a great season. David Pareba won the Golden Boot. All this stuff. What's much more noteworthy and impressive and important to me when you look at the second team is that Vitaly Hliut and Christopher Cupps, as 2008s, as 15-year-olds at the start of the season, were even just getting regular minutes. The fact that those two got regular minutes is much more noteworthy to me as 15 and 16-year-olds than Pareba even winning the Golden Boot. And that sounds weird, but it's just, and Patrick Lose,
Patrick Lose too, like being a 16-year-old that like the Fire drafted, someone that they knew that had played for the team and Patrick and Dowd from Notre Dame, and that the plan was to give Dowd every minute in MLS Next Pro that he possibly could, and that ended up not happening because he was outplayed by a 16-year-old who was, I mean, frankly, like when you look at him, pretty small to be a goalkeeper.
He's 5'10".
He's listed at 5'10". He's listed at 5'10".
He's probably 5'9". I've stood next to him. But either way, the fact that kid at 16, now 17, I believe, put the number 6 overall draft pick firmly on the bench, so much so that Dowd never played a single minute, and Lose is now going to be starting a playoff game.
To the point, like the team were
more impressive accomplishment.
To the point that the team loaned Dowd out so he could further his development elsewhere, with an option for them just to keep him with not that much coming back for the Fire, is significant, right? Matt, come on, just talk, dude. This isn't second grade. You can just talk.
Hey, I'm just waiting my turn like a good boy, because once again, I'm making an emotional stance. I think it's really important. I love all this positive talk about Lose and all the young kids currently playing for Chicago Fire too. But we all seem to have forgotten that the greatest prospect we have, graduate of our academy, is actually an Indiana Hoosier. His name is the American Messi, aka Nessie. So I just want everyone to remember that, although it's great that we're having so much development, the real talent is once again going to come from the Indiana Hoosiers, right alongside Andrew Gutman, running up the scoreboard against guys like Hugo Lloris for years to come. That's all. That's all I wanted to say.
Charlie Hoyer,
give it to me. Go ahead, please.
Charlie Hoyer is for me the better of the two Fire guys that went to Indiana this year. But go ahead.
I think those 6 appearances, Matt, those 6 appearances he makes in between injury are going to be crazy. He's going to be so good.
I agree.
Going back to the overall point though, when you look, when you actually watch a Fire 2 game or an MLS Next Pro game in general, these guys are taking 2 extra touches compared to what happens in MLS, and they're taking longer between touches and stuff like that. There is too big of a gap. And some guys have the skill and ability to bridge that gap, some not as much. And I think the other thing is, in general, there's been some roster mismanagement with the Fire, to the point that they have spent significant money bringing in some guys into Fire 2 because there's no salary cap. You can spend whatever you want on transfer fees and stuff like that. And they wanted to move them on. There hasn't really been a clear pathway for them to do that because the Fire's senior roster has basically been jam full, and when they've been loaning guys out, they haven't been able to get enough of salary or cap hit to be picked up to the point that it opens a roster spot. So guys like Omari Glasgow, if the team wanted to offer a first-term team contract, which is what they'll probably need to do if they want to keep him around, they haven't had the ability to do that just because they haven't had the space.
A likely story. We're gonna at this time once again open it up, guys. If there's anybody in the audience who would like to make their voice heard, hot take style, as it were, we're happy to let you join in. We'll kick it around the round table, as it were. I'm going to give it a second this time.
Oh, John Carollo. Sorry, Mr. John Carollo. I would like to let you know that your presence was both heard and felt in the press box during the Fire 2 game earlier today.
Wonderful. Thank you for passing that message along, Timothy. Wonderful. All right, guys, seriously, we don't have any crowd participation. You're going to make me just sit up here and riff and then say something obnoxious so that everybody gets upset again? I'll do it. I don't mind. Let's see.
This feels like my 8th grade class when I ask a question, everyone's silent. What I usually do is I'll have everyone go around the class and share what they had in terms of their answer.
John Carollo II, John Carollo Jr., if you want to put it that way, but there's a third now, so I don't know if it gets retconned. I'm not 100% sure on this. is putting things into the chat, just not speaking up.
John's in the chat?
Yeah, Wallabury.
We have a request to speak. I'll bring him on.
Okay, here.
Oh, here he is.
Hello, Wallabury.
Welcome to the channel of doom.
Wallabury.
You're muted, I believe, sir.
You have the
Speak
floor
to us
when you unmute yourself.
as we all wait in awe and silence.
Silence, so the cut's easy to make.
Oh boy. You may want to get Jiggly to help you with the audio settings, because I suspect it's like a voice microphone. Like
is this Skyway Willie right now? Is that who this is?
It is.
It's the one and the same.
Skyway. Well, Harlem Rose, while Skyway's figuring it out, Harlem Rose has asked a question in the chat that I think we should nail while they're figuring out the technical difficulties. The question is, and I'm interpret this the way you want to interpret it. Bring one midfielder to the hold that thought. Do we have a speaker?
Did you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
Yay. Hey, better late than never.
Absolutely.
Maybe before I die. I don't know.
All my days.
What's up?
Hey, so, I do my best to be heard in all corners of the field, especially when there's like 150 people there.
You said it.
Yeah.
Amen.
Makes life a little easier, I'd imagine.
Some of it even makes sense.
Let's hear it. Lay it on us. What are you thinking? How are you feeling?
About
the current predicament we find ourselves in.
The overall Chicago Fire predicament.
Yeah. You know what?
predicament.
Take the long view, right? You've kind of been here. You know what's going on.
Dude, we're at Sunday Mass right now. This is your monologue.
Why don't I start with?
Okay, let's keep your take to 30 seconds so we can keep it around.
6-7 years ago, I was ready to drop the Fire, drop my tickets. And Jiggs is like, "Oh, Dad, come on, one more year, this and that." And, now he's ready to drop them, and I'm still doing this. It's a community, and I treat it like a community. It's you guys, it's the stadium, everyone in the stadium. I've been going to developmental games since Chicago Fire Reserves. We got a picture of Jiggs in the stroller. That's how old he was. Watching guys like Gavin Glynn, watch Chris Rolfe with the Fire Reserves. A bunch of guys that made it in the in MLS and beyond. Who's on? Bunch of it's like it's a part of me. This team, I made it a mission. Okay,
you're an original season ticket holder.
Yep, sting too much. I wasn't with that. It folded. I said, we get another team. I'm not going to let that happen on my watch anyway. So far, so good. And I did that about my job, too. 37 years, and hey, they're still around. It didn't fold on my watch. It's a low bar, but here we are.
You look around the landscape, and maybe that bar is not as low as you think it is, right? With the way some of these things tend to go. So appreciate the perspective, certainly, and the commitment. I know I personally can only imagine. Dear Lord. I'll just say that much.
Well, I mean, there's still a bunch of us that are still going from the beginning. I mean, we got some history there. MLS Cup '98, La Guerra Fria, the original 2-0 in Columbus. Good days, and we had a lot of good days in Columbus.
DJ, I like that you were nodding your head when you said when he said Guerra Fria, and you were like, "Yeah." Were you alive at that point?
Yes. I was born the same season as I think I'm only like a month older than Jiggly, actually.
So you were alive, but not not following
Not
the Fire.
the same way we were alive. The same way I was alive for the Bulls' second three-peat. Like, kinda, not really though.
Not really, but also like no, I was alive. And also, Tim, I'm a history nerd. What do you expect from me?
No, that is true. Like, you probably could name, like, if I was like, wait, is this the only guy, like Trinidadian guy, that's ever played for the Fire? It'd be like, well, they had this guy in like 2007 who.
Oh, you mean Daniil Cyrus?
Yeah, exactly.
Wasn't Jovan Jones Trinidadian too?
It was.
Legend.
There've been a couple.
All right, we're in too niche of a rabbit hole. Thank you again for the words and the perspective, John Carollo Jr. or Jiggly's dad, as I have known you in the past. Appreciate you joining in.
I am Junior, so it is confusing.
No,
thanks, Junior.
Well, it's also confusing because we got another John. So when I said John earlier, it was very non-specific.
You could throw a rock and hit 4 Johns, to be fair. They make us by the dozen.
Thanks for allowing me to chirp up. And hey, I'm generally here for you anytime. It's good discussion here. It's I'm always up for good discussion on the team. And I'll turn it over to some of your other listeners.
Appreciate you. Thank you again for the joining and all the good stuff. Wonderful. So we'll toss back again. If anybody else in the crowd, I think we've had maybe 1 or 2 new people hop in. If you have anything you would like to say, right? This is we're trying to make it a little more of an open forum. If you have anything in particular, we'll check the chat. I know Harlem Rose had tossed in. Matt was reading it before. Bring one midfielder into the team. Who are you taking? So we can kick that one around a bit. I know there was a little bit of a, oh, hey, Paul Pogba's dissolving his contract. Something a little bit interesting there? Probably not, but it would be fun. Does anybody have any more realistic ideas and options? While we wait for somebody in the audience to raise their hand. Again, please just throw them up.
I'll give you one.
Okay, Alex, go ahead and report something.
It's a player. It's not a report. No, it's not a report. It's pure speculation.
A Calabrese bomb.
It's actually a player that I don't actually think is very good, but I think might be a good fit.
Okay.
Tim knows what I'm going to say. Luca De La Torre.
I love the sales too. Like, I don't think he's a good player, but he's a good fit. So because the Fire also don't want to be very good, so therefore.
No, I mean, I think he'd be fine in MLS. I think in a national team conversation, he's not good enough. He's been around the team way too long, undeservingly. But in an MLS team, would he be very good? Yes. And I think the Fire would benefit from having him next to Kellen Acosta next season.
Wait, not good enough and been around too long? Chicago Fire? That does not sound like a good mix. That sounds poorly thought out. I will say, I always have an inherent negative reaction to anybody in the USMNT circle when it comes to players, because there's so many fucking weirdos. And I know I'm one to talk, right? But there are 7 guys with Luca De La Torre fan pages that would immediately be on the hashtag every day. It's I don't want to see that.
Isn't he a St. Louis boy too, or am I making that up? He's a St. Louis.
No, he's from San Diego.
Oh, that's not St. Louis. Fun fact.
Which is the St. Louis of the southern tip of I don't know, man. I'm trying to make it work. I can't.
That's going to
different Saint.
Are we limiting this answer solely to American players?
No, Matt. No. When has that ever been the bar?
I don't know. Well, I just wanted to set some expectations because this is a crazy question. The only expectation is that it's somewhat reasonable, correct?
I mean,
no.
Yeah. Okay. Technically, we have a DP slot open. We have 2 open, so.
I mean, I do have a dream signing, ambitious, Emil Forsberg level signing.
Okay.
Julian Brandt.
Actually, a great answer.
Yeah.
Let me just. I'm gonna go on I'm gonna go on FB reference for an entirely unrelated reason. I want to see if his chart goes burr.
Oh, I see. Yes, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Look, I
just
mean,
like him because he's German.
Is there any chance that he's actually going to be leaving Dortmund, though? Like, that's the thing.
Yes, I think he will leave Dortmund in the next year. I just don't. It'll probably be to stay in Europe, but I think if you throw a boatload of money at him, he's a top 3 player in MLS. And
this is not enough burr for me personally.
I don't think he's getting back into the German national team, or at least not by the World Cup. He won't be. So, and he can play a variety of positions. He can play on the wing, through the middle, in the double pivot if you need him to. I think he'd be after Messi, the best player in MLS.
And so also, I mean, I'm not comparing him to Messi right now, but like Messi, and then just put a pause between that. Like Messi, he kind of plays that hybrid attacker role pretty well, where he can be a central midfielder, he can play on the wing, he can switch in and out depending on state of play, and I think that that's really what the Fire need, and I think that's kind of the way the position is developing around the world. But I mean, look, like Emil Forsberg should not be the level of dream signing that I think MLS teams should be. Like, that should be a good signing. That should be like one of the best players.
He's younger than Forsberg. He's younger than Forsberg. But the point is, it's a good player on a good Bundesliga team who doesn't really need to come to MLS. But,
But St. Louis City decoded MLS. Lutz Van Instiel just decoded MLS, and
they flew MLS
Bundesliga 2 teams. No,
they
Manuel Vet has said that no, they've decoded MLS, and you need 2 Bundesliga players. That is very clear from Manuel Vet's tweet. Okay,
Matt, what are you tossing in here?
I was going to say Angel Gomez, who plays for Lyon or Marseille, one of the French teams. He's worth like $25 million. I believe he's on an expiring contract. 24-year-old dual national, Portugal, England. I believe used to play for United.
Isn't he in the English national team?
Why do you say it like that?
He's got 2 caps. He's got 2 caps, I think.
He's giving me Ricky Puig.
I think he's in the current squad.
Is he in the current squad? Is he that up?
I think he is.
Goddamn. Okay, can I change my answer then? I'm going to butcher this pronunciation. He's 28 years old. Just came off a good season with Napoli, but he is on an expiring contract. Anguissa, Cameroon, Senegalese, and international. I can't remember what. I just saw the flag recently. I can't remember which one it was. But dude's a dog. I really disliked him before he was on Napoli, but he is rejuvenated. And you want that destroyer in the midfield that will make Federico Navarro look like a children actor on Broadway. I don't know what I'm trying to see here. That's the big money signing right there. Flame me, go.
Sounds good.
Honest?
Sounds like a pretty reasonable thought.
Sounds good.
I personally would say, if I'm being a little more crafty in my suggestions, I would say Joe Bellingham. The reason, imagine if we can trick people. A lot of full stadiums.
That is true.
A lot of jerseys sold. They don't know what's going on. They don't pay attention. Oh, we got this guy from Europe. We just say from Europe. We don't say where in Europe. They don't know what's going on. They just know the jersey. They kind of look alike. He's not bad too. He's like pretty okay. Like, good. Just an idea.
He is probably the right level of player too. So that's not.
Yeah, he's like playing. Oh, he's playing well in the championship. Like
it's something I can imagine. Something I could imagine happening with MLS. I mean, I don't know that he would necessarily come to Chicago, but I'm saying it's not crazy to think that someone like him could come to MLS.
I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it could be like the right. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to throw in who I would bring in at midfield, and I think a lot of people know that I am on my Polish agenda, and I was looking at like some Polish midfielders, and one that comes to mind is, well, first of all, he's not a midfielder. Nikola Zalewski, who plays for Roma and has actually been doing fairly well for himself in Serie A at 22 years old. I feel like we could do with a young Polish midfielder just to get some more. I just feel like we need to get the Polish core back into the Fire. I feel like that's missing, and we sort of had it with Przemysław Frankowski, and especially after he left, he really shot up. So Kacper Shibuko really didn't do much of that. But I feel like
the Fire really didn't. The next Kacper Shibuko on the squad. That's really what they're missing.
That's what we're missing.
That's what we're missing. No, I'm not saying we're missing Kacper. I'm just saying that we're missing
Frankowski, not Shibuko.
Yeah, a sort of Frankowski player, which, in my opinion, would be someone like Nikola Zalewski, who is probably like another player, along with Frankowski, who is really who's up on the up and out, on the up, especially when it comes to playing for Poland. So that's just what I want, I just like I said, I'm on the Polish agenda. I just feel like we need that Polish presence back in Chicago.
DJ, I know you had something you wanted to get in before you say that. Again, I'll toss out, folks, if you have questions, you can toss them in the chat and I'll read them back out. Actually, as I say that, Harlem Rose tossing in that we need a player like Krychowiak. I don't know if I said that right at all.
Krychowiak, yeah.
Krychowiak from Sevilla. So good to know. But again, guys, feel free to toss questions there or raise your hand. Yeah. DJ, I'll kick it back to you.
I'd love to get like a
If you can get him on like a minimum TAM contract, which probably would require a lot of backdoor payments, I would love to see Thomas Muller join. Like I have wanted Muller to join for the last decade, but I still want him to join.
If you guys really wanted Marco Reus, who's the Marco Reus fanatic in this organization? I can't remember. One of us really wanted. It's evidently not someone on this call. Kicking it back to you, John.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember like the deep lore of the Harold's chicken shirt. I made a Thomas Muller edit, and then Tyrus DM'd me and was like, "Don't post that." And I was like, "Okay." And so I posted a blacked out version of it, and I said, "Whenever he tells me I can, I will." So I don't know what that means, but like it was that's just something to remember, I guess, just in case.
Can I just say that when you look at like players like Mueller that have phenomenal skill, and like a lot of them have this sort of like quasi ageless quality about them, where like they can play really well even as they age, and like that's what we've seen from him in MLS historically. The way that those signings work out is when they are like the cherry on top or like the icing on the cake kind of thing. Like the most recent big example. Well, yeah, Bossy didn't work out because he wasn't the icing on the cake. Like the cake wasn't there, it wasn't baked, right? Like having Gareth Bale as a TAM option off the bench in MLS Cup when Philadelphia had been playing better, they were about to win, and then you bring off Gareth Bale, who is a TAM signing, not a DP, off the bench, and send it like that. Send it to penalty kicks. Like that is the ideal situation. But that's also typically the way that those signings work out best, when you're bringing on a guy who has that quality and you're not depending on them for a certain number of minutes. And that's not the position the Fire are in. So like realistically, I mean, I think the play is more find a guy who is around their prime age, like maybe a little bit before, maybe on like the tail end of it, but not far into the tail end of it, and bring them in to be with you for like 3, 4, or 5 years while you like really try to grow the team, rather than be like, here's a huge name and they will make a big difference. Because when you just do that, it just doesn't create anything. And like the Fire have seen that with Basti, right? Like the Fire made one playoff appearance with him here.
So Thomas Muller is that exact kind of player, like you mentioned. At this point in his career, what he is for Bayern, what he was before he retired from the national team, that's just the kind of player he is. I don't think he's someone you're going to build a team around. So for me, that wouldn't be the preferred candidate. I do think that the Fire should be in the race for any good German player that's going to come to MLS, because Germans who come to Chicago love it. Schiehaus loves it. Schweinsteiger loves it. Fabi loves it. And everybody who comes to visit or as a coach or as anything loves Chicago. So the Fire should really be using that as a pitch to get any good German player who wants to come to MLS to come to Chicago, because they should really have a leg up in any of those races.
The Fire just need Bashi. They just need to get Bashi to go over to Germany and start talking to people saying, hey, I know you. You want to come to Chicago?
Is that a German accent?
I have no idea what accent that was. That was bad.
It was a pan-European accent.
Chicago?
Oh yeah, you want to come to Chicago?
Yeah, there you
Don't
go.
really get him. Jamal Musiala, welcome to the Fire. All we have to do is just say that voice, that accent to him, and oh my God, we're gonna tear up the league, guys. It's a key.
That would be. Oh my God! All right, well we're kind of coming up on the hour here. We'll keep an eye on the chat and see if we have any more questions. Or again, if you guys want to raise your hand, I'll toss you in and you can kick some stuff around. We're happy to stay on if guys are in the audience want to chat. But I think kind of maybe a fun place to end things, guys. And we didn't prep for this, so I'm interested to see off the top of your head. Keep it short. Don't talk my ear off about it. But I want to hear you get one dream acquisition. It can be at any role. It could be a DP. It could be a U22. It could be TAM. It could be just a normal guy, right? Who's your one person that you would like to see brought in? I'll start and give you guys a second to think because everybody knows my answer. My answer is the Moroccan Messi. I love Ilias Chair. I think he's a wonderful player. He could fit in at the 10 or on the left wing. This squad lacks a ton of creativity. We have no service anywhere. And I think he could provide that. And I think his skill set would translate to MLS really well. Really strong on the ball, very quick, good in open space as well. Next, we're going to go to DJ because he's next to me on the screen. So DJ, who's yours?
Rodri. Just Rodri.
Short and sweet. I love that. Alan, you're next in line. Who say you?
Oh, my days. Trying to think about this, but in the end, I'm just going to go ahead and say Heung-min Son. I feel like he's someone who not only will light up the field, but also light up the locker room with his infective, positive attitude and his smile.
I want
a little bit.
Alan and I both have agreed on this before. We've both said we need to start a Heung-min Son to Fire shirt.
Yes, we did.
Heard much worse ideas. I do want to shout out Harlem Rose popped in the chat. He said Verratti or Verratti. I don't know, man. I'm terrible at pronouncing names, but okay. Well, I'm not Italian, Alan. Okay, not a linguist of sorts. Gabagool. Tim, if you had your druthers and choices, who would it be?
So look, we got Georg Heitz to bring in someone that he like helped along early in his career in Xherdan Shaqiri. We didn't get the name that I think is the one that would actually be fantastic in MLS, who is reaching kind of the end of a point in his career, and a lovely parting gift. Although Heitz is going to stick around as an advisor and getting paid by the Fire organization, Joe Mansueto, FC Lugano, Mo Salah. Bring Mo Salah to the Fire.
That would be fun. A real North African congruence with Mo Salah and Ilias Chair. I like the way you think, Tim. Matthew, who's your dream boy? Because I guess Andrew Grubman's already on the team, but other than him,
he's my dream guy. Marry that guy in a heartbeat, no doubt. No, I'm gonna go one that is not like in my opinion, a world-class player, but a player that actually this isn't too far off from where we should be in terms of making signings, in my opinion. It's an Aston Villa player. It's a person who lives and formerly plays in CONCACAF. They no longer play for their national team. I am going Leon Bailey. I think he would absolutely destroy MLS, would be an absolute godsend. He'd cost you a metric ton. I'm not going to swear. I'm not going to be the reason we're censored. But, he's not having a great season for Villa. He really played well last season. So I'd love to see him, and maybe in a couple of years. He's 28 right now. 28, 29, something like that. When he's in his early 30s, dude would kill in MLS. And, a lot of Jamaicans play in the States or have been played for MLS in the future in the lower leagues. So I think that'd be a really fun fit. Dude would be so good. John's laughing at me. I don't know why, though.
I was laughing at you because I really thought that was going to be a John Duran joke. I thought you were like, this young striker from Aston Villa. I was like, you asshole.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe if he doesn't get these starts over Ali, they'll want to loan him out to an MLS club. So maybe we'll get him back for a year. Who knows? That'd be kind of sick. He's a dog, dude. If you follow me on Twitter, I love John Duran now.
There you go. All right. Mr. Carollo, John Carollo Jr., I let you back in. I'm assuming because you have a thought on this matter. Would love to hear your your opinions in kind, my good sir. Okay, Eray, why don't you go while he figures out how to talk again?
Let's try this.
Oh, there we go.
There we are.
Gosh. Anyways, yeah, you brought up Leon Bailey. I've watched him the last 3-4 games. He's been bugged, which means he might be available for the Fire.
Love it. I love it.
Is not where I thought that was going. Fair point though. It would serve the purpose.
I mean, he's been lower back at least since he got to Villa. He's awful damn good at Leverkusen.
There you go, Matthew. So a mix of support and hate, I suppose, in some ways, or I guess maybe just honesty, not hate. That's not a fair comp, but appreciate the input either way.
I mean, it's let's just say it's a bold move.
Yeah, well, that's what we want. If nothing else, we want bold moves.
I mean, he might just be, he might just turn it around here and maybe get back to Europe. He's not that old. I think he's a year older than Pulisic.
Yeah, he's not. He's not that old. Some people are saying 28 is the new 20. Not me, who happens to be 28, but somebody else who is older than that. But yeah, I appreciate the input. We'll keep it moving. Eray, anyone you want to toss in? Thank you, Mr. Carroll. I'll send you back out now, but appreciate you chipping in.
If Fire could sign anyone,
yeah, just like your dream, right?
I don't know. It'd be fun to see Thomas Muller come over here.
Boring.
I feel like that's.
We've already talked about that.
Attention.
Yeah.
We can talk about that. I would agree with that. I would agree with that also, though. But I mean, I've been thinking about it, and I don't know. Are we talking realistic or just dream? Both, right?
I literally said dream.
Whatever.
You said
yeah.
I said most.
If your dream is realistic, that'd be great.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I just don't even.
Dude, you went last. How do you not know?
I know. Everyone gave such good answers, and I'm just. I don't know. I'd have to stick with Thomas Muller too, because I think that I'm a realist, right? I don't dream that big when it comes to the Fire, and that would be who I would think. And Basti could help with that connection.
You were going to say in Basti could come back too. I was like, isn't he like 50? I don't know.
If he can come back and manage the team, that'd be cool one day.
To be fair, Basti probably be better than multiple players on the team.
Or Mauro Icardi, or whatever the guy's name is. The Galatasaray top scorer last year.
Okay, well, if I want to be interesting and maybe not as realistic, Cengiz Ünder would be good. Or no, what's his name?
Am I the only one who doesn't know who that is? It can't just be me, right, guys? Come on.
No. Oh my gosh, why am I blanking? It's the Turkish guy who plays for Madrid, or Arda Güler. That's who I'm thinking of. I said a different guy's name. Arda Güler would be cool. Young, Turkish prodigy. I'm biased though, because I'm 50% Turkish, but that'd be cool. But I don't know, guys. I just don't have high hopes for this team. So sorry.
This is not
should we just cut a quick clip of us all saying random U.S. internationals who could play for the team, so that we can just post it on Twitter and. Alex is back. What's up?
Busio.
Yeah, but you said you had unstable connection, so I thought we lost you.
No, I've been here, and I'm saying Tim Weah.
Perfect.
But I know I said Brandt before, but do I get to still answer this prompt? I know I said
because they were two different questions.
Yeah. If I could sign any player in the world, I can, if he's saying Arda Güler, I can say whatever I want.
Yeah, we're just saying your dream,
Julian Wirtz, my favorite player.
He says holding up a first jersey.
That's a good shout. That's a good shout.
If we're sticking on the Leverkusen theme with 55% more realism, Robert Andrich, the center mid from Leverkusen. He and Acosta would be ridiculous together. They would complement each other very well. He's 30. I don't know how motivated he is to stay in the national team, play in the World Cup, play in the Champions League with Leverkusen, which is awesome, by the way. But he's 30. I guess that's 50% more realistic than Vats. So him or renew Javi Casas' contract again. That would also be a good idea.
There you go.
Javi Casas, is Javi Casas to you what Andrew Goodman is to me? I'm just trying to gauge where the love is right now.
Yes.
They played for the first team about the same amount. So yeah.
Yeah. Javi Casas has 1 minute, which is only like 16 minutes less than Goodman has this season.
Ooh.
I think factually that's just incorrect, but I'll let you.
You know who has more minutes and appearances than both of them? Jonathan Dean. That's what I thought.
You should have seen what he just did on camera right there, by the way. I never want to see that again.
How's it feel to get
love that.
Harlem Rose did chime in. He said Jonathan Tah or Ferran Torres as well. So a couple more tosses from the chat. Appreciate the input there. I don't know ball well enough to tell you if those are good people or not, but I'm going to trust that because you said it, they are.
Good choices. Jonathan Tah is a dog in EAFC 25. That's all I have to say to contribute.
You know, I like people named Jonathan, so that works out well.
Yeah, never mind. I don't like Jonathan Tah anymore. Sorry.
All right, so we're getting to about that time. Before we wrap up, anybody have any final thoughts? Any final words they'd like to pass along as we reach the death of the season, as it were?
Well, we should all get hamburgers. It's the 100th episode. I don't think we've appreciated enough. This is the 100th episode. So can we shout that out again? And that is. I also would like to use such a platform to say that they should renew Javi Casas' contract.
I thought he was going to say something like, thank you to everyone who's contributed to this podcast. But no, he just gave Javi Casas another minute of glory.
He's going to say like, not like the way that RSL like gave away an international slot in perpetuity is like sign Javi Casas for life, the first life MLS contract.
Exactly.
Here for life.
It is like Alex was alluding to before. He just completely ruined the moment. Honestly, with the Javi Casas take is 100 episodes is really, really incredible. You know, in just a little under 2 years. So specifically, I'm going to first just give a little props to Alan, DJ, and Tim who are here week in, week out, making content for people. And then, of course, Alex and Eray and myself have hopped on. John has always been around the podcast in both capacities. So really grateful to have people who, even when this team is really struggling like it is now, who come week after week to talk about the Fire, when some of it definitely could be repetitive. You know, there's not much new content that comes out when teams just keep losing. So they always make it entertaining. They always make it interesting. They always have fun. And most importantly, they always show up. So shout out to the big three. You guys are rock stars. And to the rest of the people here and to the rest of the people listening, whether you're in the live chat or whether you're, listening from home, shout out you. This doesn't happen without you. These guys don't record every week if you're not listening. So genuinely, even in times of dog shit there, I swore you got it. Very thankful for everyone in these squares, except Eray. He really upsets me. So there's my point of ruining the moment. I'll pass it over to anyone else who wants to say something.
One other person we really have to shout out is our glorious editor, Austin.
Yes, Austin, easily. MVP.
Man does too much work not to get enough shout out. He has been the editor since the very beginning. He is awesome.
Editor, producer, like he does so much for us and he does not give nearly enough credit.
Yes. I'll just say something, and that is just a thank you to our people in the audience, people listening to after the live has happened. We really couldn't have done it without you. And it's really enjoyable when people come up to us, either on social media or during games, being like, hey, you guys do the podcast and I listen to you guys and you guys have a lot of good things to say. And it really puts a smile on all our faces. So, thank you for supporting us, and, thank you to coming up for us. And I mean, it's fairly easy to find me because who else wears a Bobby Shuttleworth jersey and walks around with a saxophone? But seriously, any of us, whether it's Matt, Alex, Eray, Tim, John, Austin, DJ over in Florida, just everyone, just thank you, for giving us a platform.
About to say, if anybody walks up to me saying anything about the Fire, I'm going to be shocked.
I mean, I know Raphael
run into random Fire players
right?
in Publix in the Publix, I guess, in the preseason. So
I mean, I ran into Alex Bowler like twice at Publix, so that makes sense.
I mean, that's a good segue to promote my article yesterday with Alex Bowler. Check it out.
I still owe Alex Bowler pizza.
No.
Alex just came on the 100th episode for a marketing opportunity. That's what happened.
Yes, sir.
I love it. Shout out to Bonfire.
Speaking of which, this episode brought to you by Olive Garden breadsticks.
Come on down to the Olive Garden and get some free breadsticks.
Wait. Before we wrap up, can we just make an agreement right now that episode 200 of the Bonfire will be filmed at an Olive Garden? Is that something we could commit to? We have
Yes.
No.
We're committing to that bit.
we want authentic Italian food, Alex, like Olive Garden.
There is only one true Italian place.
Great.
And that is indeed Olive Garden.
So it shall be done.
Lock it in.
Alex is being overruled. It's 6-1.
Yeah.
I'm editor in chief, and I say no.
Well, you can't stop us. Just because you're not there doesn't mean we can't be. All right, guys. Well, I'll chime in my own little thank you to everybody listening, whether in the audience now, whether finding random clips somewhere or on a podcast at some point in the future. The support means the world. I think we all genuinely love and appreciate the trust that you give us to talk about the team and spend your time with us. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for reading the articles. Thank you to the whole staff, everybody who has worked in any capacity on Men in Red 97. I know Matt already said that, but I wanted to say it too. For all the hard work. Such a cool thing to watch the community flourish in the way it has, in no small part because of all that effort. So we'll go around the circle real quick. Tell everybody where to find you so that they can keep up with the shenanigans. Matthew, where's the best place to look for you, boss?
I mean, you find all of us at Men in Red 97 AV, but you can find me at MShaves, and that's MSHABES. Follow me anywhere. Just don't try to friend me on LinkedIn. I'll probably deny you. I'm picky. So check me out. I usually just tweet about soccer and baseball and how bad my White Sox are. So love you guys.
Yep, he did actually deny my LinkedIn request. That's a fact. Alex, go ahead and give us the details on you, my guy.
Well, most importantly, Twitter/X at AM Calabrese 12. So basically just AM, my last name, 12. At Men in Red 97 on Instagram, which I have turned into a Fire 2 fan page. And thanks for having me on. As always, it's been a pleasure. And let's go. 100, big number, very cool. Thank you for everyone listening too.
Absolutely, Eray. Give us the details.
On Twitter, I'm at Eray Dursun. That's IERAYDURSUN. It's not ON. It's not EN. It's not IN. It's not AN. It's UN.
Is it UN?
There's so many different ways people screw that up.
Say Y.
You're right. I did not say Y because I didn't think I had to.
Is it BN?
No.
Could be FN.
Okay. Thanks. That's me on Twitter. Really, that's all. That's the only place I talk about the Fire. And usually, honestly, don't follow me if you don't want negativity. So that's all I'll say. I just disclosure. If you follow me, that's on you. But if you want to see some Suke slander, and that's where I am.
It's only slander if it's not true. Tim, let us know where to find you.
Sing_electric on X or Twitter or whatever we're calling it these days. And THOTZE, my name, Tim Hotze, THOTZE, on Blue Sky, where I am increasingly trying to hang out.
There you go. Alan, what about you, my good sir?
Best place to find me, especially most active place, is on Twitter. I'm not calling it X. At the poll or at poll with the goal 69. The couldn't fit. I was one character short, so I removed the and I just put 69 because haha, funny number. So poll with the goal 69. also Instagram. That's the Pull with the Goal 127. So, but also not only follow the main account of MIR 97, but also the podcast account MIR 97 Pods, because that's where the podcast guys, specifically like me, Tim, and DJ, also put stuff. So follow that as well.
Absolutely, great shout out.
Which quite literally, yes.
DJ, what about you?
Twitter at DJH2036, and that's, I think, the only thing I actually have now.
Beautiful. I'm the same. I've been saying all year I need to change it, and I still haven't, and I probably never will. It's West 3 times, but the E is always a 3. Appreciate everybody taking the time. To Alan's point, you can always keep up with everybody at the website, meninred97.com, or on the socials, meninred97 and MIR Pods. You'll be able to find all the content, all the glory, all the good stuff there. And we appreciate everybody tuning in and hope to hear from you soon. We'll be back next time with some more fun. Thanks, everybody.
Come on, you men in red.
100 more.
I'm on you, men in red. How did I forget that?